Jeez, okay, but... Okay, let him turn it. What's a big idea?
Nobody but a Swede, a dumb Swede.
Save it, Sarge.
Yeah. 25 years. 25 years he spent with his face up against some cow's side in Minnesota. And all of a sudden he's a military genius. General Dwight D. Olson. I told him, what are you waiting for? Go on, you dumb Swede. I told him that. But see, he's got to be old Monty himself, don't he? Yeah, too good to take orders from some old sergeant. So you got to stick around and get himself...
Look, Sarge, we got the gun position.
Yeah, we was really bobbing and weaving in there. The old fast break, just like a well-oiled machine.
Save it, Colt. Save it till the Northeast Iowa Conference after the war.
Look, we know how you feel, Spence. We all yelled, too. What are you going to do about a guy like that?
Yeah, what did you yell at him? Be a hero, Olson? Save the good old Sarge, huh? Where's Olson? Where's Olson? He ought to be here. He ought to be drinking that wine. He ought to be over in the corner, writing that letter to that girl of his. That what's her name?
Helga.
Yeah, that Helga up in whatever the name of that dumb Swede town is. All about the cows they was gonna own. And the war bonds they were saving. Yeah. And keep a lookout for a barn, a good tight barn to keep the cattle dry. Olson ain't sleeping very dry tonight, is he? Did you bring him in?
Not yet, Spence. We couldn't get to him yet.
He ought to be here.
If he was here, we'd be out there in his place, Sarge.
So what? What got into him anyway? Why'd he come after me like that? I told him, go on.
We had you both covered. We thought he'd get you back over that ridge.
Yeah, you guys, you thought. Yeah. Well, I thought, too. I thought I had me a squad. The best damn squad in the Army. How long we been together, anyway? North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and now this. A lot of fights.
And a lot of fun.
Yeah, remember that town in Italy, that little old place on the side of the mountain there?
The farmer there.
Yeah, that old man with the five daughters and that cave full of vino.
I thought I had me a squad. But all I got is a bunch of dumb, crummy friends who think they all gotta be heroes. And the best one of them all is lying outside there on a hill with a name nobody can pronounce. A hell of a long ways from Minnesota. Hey, the papers ever say anything about this? How it is down here where there ain't much to a war except mud and dirt? That and the guy's friends.
Friends, he says. One crummy bullet in the leg and the guy's psycho.
Yeah, Gallucci. First nice word he said since he got the last stripe.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, that's the last.
did any of it get in the papers? About a kind of magic I call comradeship. I don't know, but as a war correspondent, which is a fancy name for a reporter whose beat is the battlefield instead of the courthouse or the police station, as a war correspondent, I tried to write about it back there during the Second World War. A lot of us tried. A bunch of nice guys named Ernie Pyle and Jack Singer and many others died trying. But all of us saw it there and later on in Korea. This magic I'm talking about. Anybody who's ever been close to American soldiers fighting overseas has felt it. I saw it that night in 1944 in the rubble of a farmhouse somewhere in Europe. A kind of bond that tied together a bunch of guys and made them into a fighting unit. The magic of comradeship among a New York cop, a high school coach from Iowa, an insurance salesman from California, a Texas haberdasher, and a dairy farmer from Minnesota. Is magic too strong a word? Well, I don't think so. And I've seen it at work aboard ships of the Navy and in the cramped quarters of a bomber. I've seen it in remote and lonely spots of the earth where the enemies are monotony and boredom. I saw it in World War II, and I saw it in Korea. I know men who have told me about it in the First World War and the Spanish-American War. They held me spellbound with their stories when I was a kid. The magic of comradeship. I suppose it takes all sorts of magic to win a war. The magic of production. The magic of technical skills. The magic of leadership. The magic of comradeship. And every time I saw it in battle, it seemed to me it would be a tragic thing if we lost it when the war ended. In fact, I used to wonder what would happen to these men after the war. Where would they go? Oh, I supposed the lucky ones would go back to their hometowns and their jobs and wives and girls and pick things up just as before. And in a way, that was wonderful. But also, in a way, it would be too bad. Too bad if the magic of comradeship, which had conquered Hitler and Mussolini and Hirohito, were to be lost to us forever. For there would, I knew, be enemies that had to be fought in time of peace as well as war. I guess it's a question that has nagged at the minds of a lot of guys. Where did it all go? What happened to the unity? That feeling of belonging to a team, of standing up to the enemy alongside a guy who would, oh, he'd bum your last cigarette, swipe your girl, brag about Texas or Brooklyn or Hannibal, Missouri, crack lousy jokes, whistle off key, and save your life. Well, I've been on the trail of an answer, and I think I've found it. The magic of comradeship is still working in this country of ours, still fighting her enemies, enemies which are doubly dangerous because they are subtle and intangible and hard to identify. The trail started for me on a street corner, not far from this office. Wasn't an unusual thing for New York City. A parade. But what a parade. Everyone loves parades, but this one particularly gave me a kick because of its timing. Here the veterans of foreign wars had taken May Day, which the commies had been trying for years to make their own special holiday, and turned it into the exact opposite, a loyalty day on which Americans of every kind stepped out to the music of a band to show their love for the kind of freedom we have. It seemed to me that There was one way the VFW had applied the magic of comradeship in peacetime by calmly bouncing the communists out of their favorite propaganda spot. But parades alone don't beat enemies. And I thought of some of the enemies we have in America today. The enemy of juvenile delinquency, weakening the fabric of our society, eroding our most precious resource, our young men and women.
Hey, Oakley! Steady! No, help! No! Let him go. Guys, let's go! Come on!
The enemy of apathy toward our political problems, leaving the door open for the grafter, the subversive, the traitor, the tool of pressure groups, the crook, the incompetent. The enemy of neglect of our veterans, which undercuts the pride with which young men wear the uniform of their country. This is the cruel enemy which keeps disabled veterans from proving that they can fill useful jobs in business and industry. Neglect that punishes children because their fathers served their country. The enemy of smugness, which lets our national defenses dwindle away, which discourages young Americans from seeking careers in our armed forces, which weakens our reserve components in our National Guard. Those are the enemies within America, eating away at our national strength, weakening our resistance to communism. How, I wondered, could the magic of comradeship that won fighting wars be brought to bear against these enemies?
What is the VFW doing to fight these enemies? The enemy of juvenile delinquency. Well, the National Marble Tournament is one of the ways. Boys from every state in the Union, from every walk of life, gather together to test their hard-learned skills in the healthy, open competition that is the heritage of every American youth. And VFW posts throughout the country carry on thousands of projects to provide such recreational opportunities. The Marble Tournament, because it is unique, is perhaps the best known. It's serious business, but it's fun, too. No room here for pompous statements about combating juvenile delinquency. But that's the inevitable byproduct of the fun. And the same thing goes for the baseball team sponsored by VFW Posts for boys in the teenage class. To them, the national tournament is just as important as any World Series. And from these teams may come the big leaguers of tomorrow. Boys stay out of trouble when they're trying to improve their batting averages.